Hello students, welcome again in RS tutorial and today we are going to start another topic of class 9th of chapter 2nd tissue. So in previous video we have discussed about the plant tissue and we have successfully completed plant tissue, and now today we are going to start animal tissue. So in animal tissue, first of all we should know that the major type of animal tissue. After that we will discuss one by one. Okay, so here I have written on the board, which is very important for all of you. So let's we start animal tissue. So basically animal tissue is of four types. जो एनिमल टिश्यू है मीन्स कि हमारी बॉडी में जितने भी टाइप्स के टिश्यू पाए जाते हैं ओवरऑल they are divided into four types. Animal tissue are categorized into four types and these are as follows. The first one is epithelial tissue, or you can say epithelium. Both name you can indicate. It is also known as protective or covering tissue. Why epithelial tissue or epithelium tissue is known as protective or covering tissue, we will discuss further when we will study about one by one. Now the second one is connective tissue. Connective tissue is also known as binding tissue. Why these are known as binding tissue, we will discuss further. Now the third one is muscular tissue, which is also known as contractile tissue, because in this all muscles tissue comes under this topic. Okay. Now the last one is nervous tissue, in which we will discuss about the neuron, and that's why this tissue also known as coordinating tissue. So here we are going to discuss the first one is epithelial tissue. In this video we will study about the epithelial tissue. So before starting epithelial tissue with their types, we should come to know the main characteristics feature of epithelial tissue, location of epithelial tissue and function of epithelial tissue. After that we will discuss about the types of epithelial tissue. So first we are going to start the characteristics feature of epithelial tissue. So here I have written that the main characteristics feature of epithelial tissue, which are as follows. The first one is, I have already told you that epithelial tissue are known as protective tissue and it is animal tissue. That's why here I have written that epithelial tissue are protective animal tissue and it forms a continuous sheet on external and internal organ. Okay, means it forms a continuous sheet without any intercellular space. Okay, in epithelial tissue there is no intercellular space. So protective animal tissue and it forms continuous sheet on external as well as internal surfaces of body and body organ. जितने भी हमारे body organ हैं उनके surfaces पे either they are external or internal, epithelial tissue की continuous sheet covering है, cover है, ठीक है. Now the next point is cells are closely arranged, means the cells of epithelial tissue are closely arranged without intercellular spaces. Means the cells of epithelial tissue are closely arranged, or you can say closely packed without any intercellular space, means there is no intercellular space present between two cells of epithelial tissue. Okay, you can see with the help of diagram here. If I draw the diagram of epithelial tissue, something like this, the diagram will be, when we will discuss the types, you will easily identify that like this. Okay, in this diagram you can see that it forms a continuous sheet first of all, and the second one is there is no intercellular between two cells of epithelial cell. That's why this point I have written that there is no intercellular space between two epithelial cells. Now the next point is epithelial tissue forms outer covering. When the epithelial tissue forms outer covering, then it is known as epithelium. Okay, and when it forms the inner covering or inner lining of cavities, then it is known as endothelium, which I have highlighted that you should know that what is epithelium as well as what is endothelium. Okay, now the next point is the cells may be flat oval, columnar, cuboidal. There are many types of shapes. When we will discuss the types of epithelium, you will see all these shapes of the epithelial tissue. Okay. Now the last point is these cells does not have blood supply. It means that in epithelial tissue there is no arteries, veins, or you can say capillaries. There is no supply of blood. Okay. Now the location of epithelial tissue, we will discuss that it forms the lining of buccal cavity. Means जो हमारे माउथ की कैविटी है इंटरनल, जो आप टच करते हो टंग से, ठीक है, वो चीज फॉर्म करता है. एंड ऑल हॉलो ऑर्गन विच आर प्रेजेंट इन आवर बॉडी. मीन्स epithelial tissue are found in the all hollow organ. Either they are external, means the external surface of hollow organ, and the internal surface of hollow organ. And also it forms the line of buccal cavity, stomach, air tubes, lungs, food pipe, nose, blood vessels, etc. These are the organ of our body where epithelial tissue are found, or it forms a continuous sheet. For example, if we will take the example of stomach, then the outer layer of stomach and the inner layer of stomachs are formed of epithelial tissue. Okay. Now next one is air tubes, you can say, or trachea, you can say. The inner lining of trachea also forms the epithelial tissue, forms of epithelial tissue. Lungs, food pipe, or you can say esophagus. Nose, the inner lining of nose is formed of epithelial tissue. So the epithelial tissue has very major important function, or you can say role in our body. Okay. Now the next point is it occurs at प्रोटेक्टिव टिश्यू टू ऑल ओवर द बॉडी. मीन्स कि ये हमारी बॉडी को कवर करता है, ठीक है, एज ए प्रोटेक्टिव इन नेचर. ओके. ऑल्सो कवर ऑल द बॉडी ऑर्गन्स एंड ऑल्सो फॉर्म्स आउटर मोस्ट लेयर ऑफ द स्किन. सो नाउ यू हैव टू क्लियर दैट द आउटर मोस्ट लेयर ऑफ स्किन इज मेड अप ऑफ epithelial tissue. Okay. So this point is very important to all of you, so you can note it down in your notes copy. Now the function of epithelial tissue. There are many functions of epithelial tissue, but some points which is very important I have written here. So you should know that what are the main important function of epithelial tissue. According to location, you can guess that what are the major or important function of epithelial tissues. Here I have written some points. One by one we will discuss. Now the first function of epithelial tissue is protection. So it protect our body or the organ where it is present from the chemical, bacterial or viral infection or mechanical injury. There are so many reasons due to which our body will harm from that substances, but epithelial tissue are present. That's why we are protected from these microorganisms, or you can say chemicals, etc. Okay. Now the next one is absorption. Epithelial tissue helps in absorption. How it helps in absorption? Because in small intestine, here I have written intestinal epithelium. Okay. In intestine epithelium, you are knowing that in a small intestine maximum absorption takes place in our body. So all the nutrients which are digested in our small intestine, after the digestion, when absorption process takes place, so with the help of intestinal epithelium, absorption of water, minerals, or you can say nutrients takes place. That's why I have written here that epithelial tissue helps in absorption. Now the next point is secretion. Epithelial tissue helps in secretion. How epithelial tissue helps in secretion? So in our body many secretion takes place, many chemicals secretion takes place, like saliva. Saliva in our mouth, you are knowing that saliva is secreted for the digestion of food, or you can say breakdown of food. So it is secreted by the epithelial tissue. Mucus is protective in nature, which is secreted in our stomach from HCl. It will protect our stomach. So mucus is also secreted by the epithelial tissue. Sweat, you are knowing that it is also secreted by epithelial tissue. And there are so many enzymes and nutrients, enzymes and biochemicals which are secreted by epithelial tissue in our body. Now the next one is respiration. It helps in respiration because epithelial tissue are present in our lungs at the outer and inner surface of alveoli, you can say, and alveoli is the functional unit of lungs where it is present, and in lungs of human beings or animals gaseous exchange takes place. That's why this point I have written that in respiration it helps. Okay, now the next point is movement. How epithelial tissue helps in movement? It helps cells having cilia. So there are some cells which are present on body which have cilia like structure. Cilia are the locomotory organ. In the diagram of paramecium, you have seen the hair like structure which is present on the outer surface of the paramecium, which is known as cilia. So in our body, like trachea or you can say air tubes, cilia like structure presents which helps in the remove of dust particles or mucus from the air which we inhale. So it helps in the movement. Okay, now the next point is act as barrier. As I have already told you that epithelial tissue are present all over the body or outer surface of skin, so it act as a barrier. So it protect us from the outer environment, you can say, or outer in outer environment, the microorganisms which are present which we can't see with our naked eye, they can enter into our body, but due to the presence of epithelial tissue they are not able to enter our body, so that it protect us from the outer environment or bacteria, virus, etc. Okay, now the last point is receiving stimuli, olfactory and taste bud. Okay, here I have written olfactory and taste bud. Olfactory, olfaction means the power of smell. So in inner lining of nose epithelial tissue are present, so it helps in the olfaction, and taste bud, taste buds are present in our tongues so that we can taste the different taste of food with the help of epithelial tissue. So it is all about the types of epithelial tissue, or you can say it is all about the animal tissue and their types, in which we discuss. The first one is epithelial tissue, the characteristics feature of epithelial tissue, the location of epithelial tissue, and the function of epithelial tissue. So it is the introduction of epithelial tissue, or you can say protective tissue or covering tissue of animals. So in this video it is all about the introduction of epithelial tissue. In further, means in next video or tomorrow, we will start the types of epithelial tissue, which is very important to all of you. But this video is very important because the introduction is must. You should know that which topic we will study further. Okay, so thank you to all of you for watching us on ARS tutorial.